Hello everyone. So my name is Lee Hu Yanto and you can call me Harry. So this is my final presentation for English 1302 in the fourth semester of 2025, and today I want to analyze one of Bong Joon-ho films that I really love, which is Parasite. So I gotta focus on three things: class inequality, the physical space in the movie, and the most important symbol in the movie, which is the Scholar Rock. So I organize my slide deck into four main sections: historical and background, cultural background, physical setting, and the main theme and the symbol as well. So my goal is to show to you how Paradise use like everyday detail like house, stair, weather, and object to talk about deep social problem. And basically I want to show you that this movie is not just a dark comedy but also a powerful social crisis of capitalism and the realm of moving up in the class, like in class. So before looking closely in Paradise, I want to explain the idea of hell junction in South Korean, because it provides the most important context for the film. So basically, after the Korean War, South Korean is experienced like extremely like rapid like economic growth, um, often described as a miracle. However, their success also create intense competition and winning gap between like the rich and the poor, especially for young generation. And also like according to ABC News article by Mike William, many young Koreans feel overwhelming by pressure from school and also war and family expectation, while also facing a stable job and high living costs. This stress has contributed to South Korean having one of the highest suicide rate in the world. Um, Another factor behind the term Hail Junction is the rise of young unemployed and underemployment. Even among highly, education people, a university degree no longer guarantee a stable job, and many graduates feel trapped in what is known as back culture, where they must content earn more certificate, achievement, and qualification just to compete. So basically, if you just have like bachelor degree, um, yeah, it's not gonna working. You gonna need like at least like master or like PhD for just a normal job. So despite all the effort, opportunities still feel limited, which cause many young adults to believe that hard work alone can help them move up in society. And also the interview mentioned like young Korean use the phrase "Junction" to spread their frustration with a system that seemed fair but feel unfair and impossible to escape. So this background helps us understand the Kim family in Parasite. They present the generation of study, hustle, and work hard, but still cannot enter the middle class. Their desperation and their willingness to take an opportunity makes sense when we see how deeply social inequality shapes in their world. And another part of the cultural setting in role of education in South Korean, like education often see as a main part to respect and upward mobility, like especially like if a student can enter like an elite like university. I don't mean like just university, I mean like an elite like middle school and elite high school as well. So therefore like their family gonna invest a lot of money and emotion into the exam, and falling an important test can feel like a social debt. ABC also like describe that like how many students go to regular school during the day, and then they have to attend after school academy until 10 p.m. before study alone in the library until midnight. So getting 5-6 hours sleep for Korean student, like South Korean student, is kind of impossible. One high school student explained that even though the schedule is excessive, she cannot quit because of her parent. Like the expectation and the money they already spending. Another important factor is a strong belief that education success determines family social reputation. Parents worry not like all about the child future job, but also how their relative, the neighbor, the community will judge them, because this academic pressure became like a family-wide burden where the student identify and self-worth are tied to their rate. This create a culture where like students feel like they must stand like compete, and any failure become a sign of person weakness, like rather than like normal part of learning. So in Parasite, Ko-woon do not have the money and the background to get a real degree, but he understands how powerful a college certificate look on the paper in this kind of society. This is why he agreed, to get a fake a university degree, um, and also like some document like academic transcript as well. Um, so he gotta appear like legitimate in front of the Park family, and this single piece of paper is enough to open the door in their wealthy household. Moving on, I want to talk about like Bangja. Basically, it's a semi basement housing. I think this one it's possible to find this in U.S. or like Western country in general. So this movie also using a Pacific type of house. It's called mansion. Um, so these apartment are built like partly underground, and they are usually dark, cramped, and humid. And are you having a question right now? Why people still live in them? Right? It's so like bad. The only reason is because it's really cheap. It's really cheap than normal housing. So cheap come with something disadvantage, right? So it's come with really serious risks, like when there's heavy rain, the semi apartment can flood pretty quickly, and the air quality is often bad because it's a half basement, or consider like below the street level, or like half below the street level. So flooding is like inventable, and our air quality is like the street, because there is at the street level, so like lots of dust, like people walking by, car moving by, so like people in Mangjan gonna get like ton of dust. So in the Kim family apartment, a small window open onto a dirt alley at the street level, where like rungmen urinate, transpire, and flamingo trust fill the room with chemical. Um, and this environment showed that the Kim are constantly exposed to noise, pollution, and obviously danger, like, in both physically and socially. And living a half in a rap became like a strong visors. I mean a strong visual metaphor for like their class position, because they can, you know, they are not completely invisible, but they are still far below from the brine. Open the world of Port Hilltop House. Later, when the flood destroyed their home, we can see this kind of housing is not re-uncountable, but also extremely fragile and unsafe, which make the gap between two family living conditions even cleaner. As you can see in the picture, Kiwoo and Kijong, like this father, um, are in the bedroom trying to catch like neighbor Wi-Fi. Um, and this bedroom look kind of look weird, right? Because you have to climb like a few steps to the bathroom. The reason is because like the toilet is try to level with the round. They so like the waste will not, if like the toilet is level with the ground, um, the water cannot flush, because it's lower level from the septic tank. So if we talk about the metrophone, we can say that the Banjang apartment is level with the septic tank, or like uh, the class is really low. So moving on, I want to focus on the physical setting of Parasite, especially how the film used the vertical space to talk about class. The Kim family lived in a semi-basement at the bottom of the hill, in crowded and noisy part of the city, surrounded by small shops, cars, and traffic. So, in contrast, the part live in a modern, gated house high on quiet hill, with clean street, tree, and a private yard, which make their world feel more protected and separate from the rest of the city. Usually in South Korean, and also it's kind of like Asian culture that if the real estate place uh, on a high ground like a hill, the real estate price is gonna be way higher than the real estate that have like the normal ground level. So every time the Kim go to work, the camera gonna follow them in a long journey. So they're gonna walk up the slope like here, um, and also climb several set of stairs and slowly move away from the messy street into the calm space around the port home. Later, after the party disaster, we observe, we see the reverse, um, along, sequence of fighter running downstairs and slope in the rain, going back from the higher class bay to his low position at the bottom. These repeat movements are carefully filmed, because they are not just particle route, but a visual pattern that remind the audience that who is above and who is below in the social hierarchy. Even when the Kim is inside the part house, they are often show standing or sitting on the lower level. When they're serving food on the floor, cleaning under table, or sitting in the front seat while part relax in the back of the car, which suggests that their temporary rise in status can collapse at any moment. And in the scene where part like unexpected return from the camping trip, the Kim have to hide under the living table while part partner lie on the sofa above them, and the camera show like this clear vertical separate inside the same room. By stack the character on different level like this one, the film use stair, floor, and furniture to show class position and turning symbol up and down movement in a constant to reminder of inequality. And to compare day with night, the part how change is meaning complete depending whether it's day or night. Which color in the daytime the large glass window left, you know, the soft natural light. The lawn looked perfectly green, and the modern interior feel, calm, safe, elegant for the Port family. We can see like the mother relaxing on the sofa. The little boy plays in the yard, and the housekeeper quietly walking in the background, which kind of make the house look like an ideal, comfortable home. Pretty elegant for like elite class, but like the atmosphere is bright and peaceful, and the house seems to exist, almost outside of the problem of the city. It's like a private world designed just for their comfort. However, at night, especially when part are away, the same house um, become very different space from the poor character. When the former housekeeper returned the grand, the camera follow her down to the stair into the secret bunker, and the bright of the living room is replaced with a narrow suitcase, dark hallway, and low light ceiling. Oh, I mean low light ceiling and also low ceiling. Um, the house kind of turned into kind of maze filled with secret, where the Kim family and the couple in the bunker shrug, like test each other, and also hiding from the Part family. And in the scene where Part come home earlier from their camping trip, the Kim have to hide at the living room and also behind the furniture. Um, so in that moment, three different social position, like the rich owner pretending servant, and the high the and like the hidden poor, is just on the top of one another inside the same building. It's separate only by floor and furniture. So this contract showed that like Parkhouse is sanctuary for rich during the day, but at night it became like dangerous battlefield and a prison for the poor, even though the physical war are exactly the same. Um, and this one, this another powerful example of the physical setting in Parasite. Um, set in setting in Parasite in like the heavy rainstorm and the flood that follow. So basically, during the storm, the Park family is safe in their warm house on the hill. They watch rain from behind their large window, and they calmly go to sleep. But that's just for them, um, because for them the sound rain is kind of like white noise. It's almost relaxing, so they do not worry about the water entering the house because they're high protected position. But at the very same time, the Kim family is fighting to save their position as a filthy water pool into the semi basement, rise up from the floor, and even explode out of the toilet. We can see they running up and down the stair, grabbing small item and standing in the dirty water, while their entire neighborhood turned into a brown river of sewage. So at night they lose not only object like clothes or furniture, but also important document and any sense of safety in their own house. And in the next scenes, they slept in the crowd, sharing with many other disciplined families, like sharing blanket and donation supply. While Miss Mrs. Park casually called the rain is a blessing because it's bring the air, feel fresh, cool for Hudson party. The visual contrast between the gym full of exhaustion, homeless facility, and a clean backyard birthday party. The next part, like, and the next day make inequality impossible to ignore. The camera cut back and forth between two space that showing that they exist in the same city under the same sky, but they have completely different world. For the part, the dancers background scenery without slightly changing their weekend plans. For Kim, it's a disaster because that already destroyed their home, their saving, their dignity. And by placing these two experiences side by side, the film make it very clear that the same nature, even hurt poor people much more than rich people, and turn weather is kind into a symbol of structural inequality and the climate vulnerability. In the other word, the rain only romantic and healing for the poor because people like Kim are the only paying the hidden price. Alright, so to the center theme of the parasite. So in this section, I want to focus what I see in the central theme of parasites. Um, Mathematics statement in is that the capitalist system that dream of moving up in class is often an kind of illustration. And when people try to chase that dream, they usually end up relying on someone else's labor and suffering. The film success that both rich and poor behave like parasites, but in different way. The poor attach themselves to rich household in order to survive, while the rich quietly live off invisible, unpaid work that they don't not want to see. Um, because on the surface, the cavalry look like they only parasite group because they lie. They slowly take all the job in the park now. But the movie also showed that the park cannot function without the whole network of servers. Whether someone try to climb up or protect their position, whether is the Kim, the port, or like the couple living in the bunker. The result is not peace, or fairness. Instead, it's can lead to tension, fear, and eventually physical violence after the birthday party. And by the end of the film, you can see the system itself encourage people to step on each other in order to escape poverty. And this is why not only not that's why no one truly won. And in the next slide, I use three specific example. The Kim, the strip blend and the part comfortable defense in the walk and the final fantasy sequence to show how each part of the story support this theme. So first example of the theme is the Kim family step-by-step plan to enter and take over the port house. Um, because at the beginning of the film, they earn very little money from folding pizza box, and they even got scolded because the box are full badly, which show how unstable and underpaid their work is. And when Kiwoo rich friend Min offered him a chance to tutor the part daughter, this opportunity looked like a door opening into a completely different world. Um, and after Ki Wong entered the house, the family slowly replaced every existing worker. They get the riot fire by planting underwear in the car. They manipulate the push and um, the sixth story to remove the old housekeeper and they invent the role of an art therapist for Kijang. So each step in the plan involves lies, stay accident, and kind of like carefully, performance turn into everyday situation into small scam so they can secure a stable income. Their behavior is clearly like wrong on the moral level, of course. Um, but the film frame is as a despite survival strategy in a system that give almost no legal opportunity to people at the class level. This is almost important that people they push out the driver and the old housekeeper are not rich. They are other working class people, which showing how poor end up competing and harming each other instead of being a able to changing the unfair system itself. The Kim do not break into bank or take the wealthy directly. Instead, they quietly fighting over a few service jobs that the rich are willingly to offer, which make their victory feel unstable for the very beginning. In another way, the family Clara plan can illustrate to how the dream of moving up in the class often forced the poor people to step on other another and reinforce the same hierarchy that they're trying to escape. Um, the second example of what I want to say is, um, you know, the team come from the poor family themselves. Because they depend on the worker. That's almost every part of their daily routine. Arrival gonna take them around the city. The housekeeper gonna clean and cook, and the tutor gonna educate and entertain their child. Because the worker handle all the hand and dirty tasks, the parent can yeah, and I don't mean parent like the host household. They can enjoy a very high level of comfort and calm, but they rarely think about where the employees live or what um they live and all like outside of the house. And also at one point, Mr. Park say about good staff must do their job, but also not crossing the line, which means that he want their labor, but do not really want human closeness or equality. And also, like, especially in the car scenes, he complained about the smell of people who ride the subway. Exactly the smell that comes from the Kim family basement life, which relevant his disgust and emotion distant from a lower class. The irony is that when the Kim are blamed for being parasite, the part quietly live off constant, invisible labor of people like them and never question whether this arrangement is fair or not. For the part, the lifestyle feel completely normal. They pay money and in return, any problem can be solved is by hiring another worker, which had the human cost beside the smooth surface of convenience. This calm, polite, dependent make the version of parasite as a parasite harder to see, but the film keep reminding us that the freedom and emotion comfort that are all built by someone exhausting work. In this way, the film success that the rich, can function as a parasite as well, feeding on other people time and energy while pretending that that's an ecosystem and is nature and normal. By the end of the movie, bring the theme of illustration and the class mobility to painful conclusion. Like after the mass the disaster at the birthday party, Ki Woon imaged the a future where he become rich, buying part house and quiet waiting at the right moment to rescue his father from the hidden bunker. In this fantasy, he walked confidently to the bright, clean room, and reunion with his father is filled with the warm light and emotion music, as um, as if the story is finally getting a happy ending. However, when we think about how long it would actually take someone with his background to earn enough money to buy the house, well, the plans kind of become almost impossible. It would probably take a decade. Personally, I don't think it could ever happen. So the film then cut back sharply to the semi basement, showing Kyo still sitting there, waiting this plan as a letter to his father, which tells us that everything we just saw only exists in his imagination. The final contract between the beautiful fantasy and the harsh reality remind the audience that for the family like the Kim, the dream of moving up in class is not realistic plan, but a fragile story tell themselves to keep going. The more detail of Kywon plans out, the more tragic it's become because we understand that the system around him is not designed to reward people like him at the level of success. By ending of image of the semi basement instead of like the huge top house, the parasite success that the cycle of poverty and inequality will continue no matter how hard like Kiwon dream or how careful he imaged his future. The closing scene leaves us with a question, not a solution. In a world that where the rule are this unequal, personal effort and opportunities may never be enough to truly escape. Yeah, and finally, I want to discuss one of the most important symbol in the film, the Scarlet Rock. So early in the story, Ki-woon friend Min bring this stuff to family as a gift and explain that traditional Scarlet Rock is supposed to bring the good furniture to the owner. Even though the kid live in cramped, messy semi basement, but they treat the rock like something precious and display it in a special place as if it presents success. They hope to reach one day. They even shocked that the rocks seem to follow them and doesn't want to live, which show how much they want to believe in good luck and finally choose their family. Um, there's also an ironic detail that naming like Scholar Rock because it's connect to education, culture, intersectional success, which are exactly the thing that Kiwon cannot successful access because of his class position. In a way, The Rock does not just like promise money, but it also seems to promise more respectable identity, as if owning the subject could magically lift them into higher class. And at one point, Kyung looked at The Rock and say, "It's so metaphoric," which almost like the direct message for the film to the audience to pay attention to this object as a symbol, not just a random decoration. Because from this moment, The Rock become reconnect to family, hope, and fear, and is meaning keeping charging as their situation become more intense and dangerous. Because we can start to feel that the rock might not only bring opportunity but also attract the misfortune, as if like the blessing attached to it come with like the hidden cost. So in the next two line, it will show how Scholar Rock move from beginning of I mean like being of like a symbol of hope to heavy burden, and finally has an instruction of the violence. Yep. And for next, I have wrote as hope and burden. So at first, the Scholar Rock like clearly like a kind of symbolizing hope and dream of certain well for like the Kim family, cause like when men like bring the rock and say it will bring like to them like good furniture, and Kim like immediately like treat is as a sign that their look is kind of finally like changing. So they told us like if the rock has chosen them and showed that it doesn't want to live, which kind of show like how much they believe in like magic shortcut out of like poverty instead for like a long like uncertain path. So like the rock become like something that like they can hold and look at it, basically a solid object that they represent like an invisible dream of a better life, richer life. So it's also like visually ironic. This heavy, fancy object design, for display is a tasteful home now. It's kind of like set awkwardly inside a cramped, messy semi basement, and it's also like highlighting the gap between their dream and their reality. Later when the flood filled the apartment with like a filthy water, Kiwon still go back and hold the rock tight in his arm, try to save it even though everything around him is collapsing. Basically, this is the moment success that the rim attached to the rock has, kind of become like heavier than the rock. Um, and kind of also meaning like he cannot, let it go of the fantasy, even when it put him in danger. Because like, instead of protecting the family, the rock is the thing he protected, which kind of show how deeply he has tried his identity and his future to this one symbolized object. Um, in this way, the Scholar Rock shift, from a bright symbol into like a symbol of heavy expectation, and also like pressure that rests on Kiwu's shoulder to live, his family out of poverty, out of the poor. Um, so it's kind of, feeling like a blessing start to look like a way that now he's trapped under, like preparing like the audience for even like darker rock, like darker role of the rock, um, gotta be playing climax in like in the film. So in the climax of the story, the meaning of the skull rock become like very dark and violence when um, the man has secretly lived in like the bunker is escape, and he grabbed the rock and uses to smash Kiwu head, um, and also like, hitting him again and again and try to killing him. Um, in this moment, an object was supposed to bring like Well, and your furniture is kind of completely transformed to weapon. Um, and also like the rock is covered in blood now, and it's kind of like showing like the image that like the helpful rim attached to the rock, it has already like already been like completely like corrupted by the violence create inside this ecosystem. Um, so the attack is not only like just one crazy person attacking like randomly. It's kind of come from a year of hallucination, isolation, and also depression at very bottoms of society. Look away, another house while the rich family live comfortable above. The man from the bunker has been literally surviving off the scrap of the Part household, and when when his secret war is third, all of his anger and fear explode to the rock that he holds in his hand. So the scene suggests that when people dream of wealth and escape fluctuate for too long, they can explode into chaos and murder instead of peaceful changing. Um, in a similar way, the rock has no god tag, only like Q1 as individual. It's kind of attacking the fantasy of that object and could ever safely carrying someone from the poverty into the world of the rich. And by the end of the movie, the Skull Rock has moved to old state, um, hope, burden, and finally violence, which perfectly matched the movie uh, create of capitalism, illustration, and the emotion damage that they cause for both the rich and the poor. Because what began as a lucky charm and as a bloody weapon show that in this system, even a symbol of good furniture can be twisted into a tool of destruction. So, to conclude, I want to briefly bring together a different part of my presentation and show how they all connected. First, we show that Parasite is deeply rooted in the social reality of Sakura. I did like Hair Junction in terms exam pressure, the way of the semi basement housing, showing the world where the inequality is, and that already been to like everyday life, not just something that appear in extreme situation. The character are not suffering because of one bad event, but they all live in a system that competition, unstable job, and poor housing condition are considered normal for the people at the top. Oh, sorry, I mean considered normal for people at the bottom. um, can also like the film like then use like physical setting like such as like vertical moment between manja and the hilltop house, the part home changing between day and night, and also like the brainstorm and the flood to turn class differences into a powerful visual language. Like for that, like the audience can feel like even without like dialogue. So by constant moving the character up and down, um, yeah, down in stair, placing them on a different level inside the same house, showing how one rainstorm create comfort for one family and the disaster for another, the movie make inequality visible in, like, almost every frame. On top of that, the central theme of the movie suggests that the dream of moving up in class is often an illustration that depend on someone else, like labor and suffering, and this dream can easily, like, lead to tension and violence instead of real justice. um so, like, the Kim family plan and also the Park family quite dependent on their worker, and the conflict with the couple in the bunker, all of that showing, like, people has pushed into competing which with one another instead of changing the unfair rule of the game. um Moving on, like, the squirrel follow, like, follow the same pattern. It begin as, like, a simple pump, become heavy as its burden for Kiwu, and finally turn into, like, bloody weapon in the story climax, showing how fragile and dangerous of the rim really are, and when is it built on inequality. An object that was supposed to bring good furniture and that covered in blood, which perfectly matched the way of the film turned a beautiful dream of success into something really tragic and painful. And by the end of Parasite, no character, like, truly escaped from the system, and the final return to the semi basement remind us, like, thus the structural inequality is not solved by the individual, like, effort alone. That no matter how hard, like, one person study, work, or, like, plan. So in this way, the film invite us to question who benefits, who gonna be the benefit for the current system, who pay the hidden costs, and wherever our own idea about success might also be more, metaphorical than we want to admit it. And that uncomfortable question is exactly why Parasite stay with us long after, like, the movie end. Alright, so before I finish, here's, like, the list of shows that I use for my presentation. So most of the source I using for, like, videos and image, except for, like, when I learning about, like, the background from Hey Junction, that I use some of the detail in ABC New interview. Um, so so basically, all of this one is really support, like, giving um my audience that, like, a point of visualize, to show it kind of like supporting my thought to my presentation, showing clearly, like, what is, you know the class inequality, the physical space, and also, like, showing, like, the meaning of the scar. um all right, thank you for your listening to my presentation. If you have any question, I love to hear it and answer it. Once again, thank you a lot.